Well, the British Insurance Brokers Association conference might be over, but Biba Fever lives on. With this, the fifth and final episode of Biba Fever, brought to you by Insurance Age Post and our friends at LV. In this episode, we're going to reflect on last week's conference with Emmanuel Kenning from Insurance Age and Mike Crane from LV. Welcome to the studio, gentlemen. So, last week's Biba Conference. 1 week on, what do you think the last impressions of Biba 2014 are, Emmanuel?
I guess my impressions are twofold and they kind of feed into each other. There seem to be less gimmicks, less celebrities, less people in fancy dress. Still a bit of it, still a bit of fun like that. Also less beer on the stands. Maybe it's a sign of the times we've all moved up to wine because it wasn't short on alcohol. And secondly, that it was very busy and hectic, but it was brokers actually looking to do business and make deals with insurers. So it's more organised. It was pretty frenetic actually. But I think the two things are kind of linked together quite nicely.
And Mike?
Yeah, for us, I think it was really good to be back in Manchester. I think we found it a very, very busy conference throughout the whole of the 2 days. A lot of brokers very focused during the days on having really good business conversations and wanting to root out insurers and other people they wanted to spend time with and have some good conversations with. That was certainly our impression, people wanting to have discussions with us and really assessing the insurers they're using, you know, and how they're going to move forward. Really good days.
And obviously there were a few jaded folk in the conference hall, particularly on Thursday morning. Can I just ask, Wednesday night, what did you do, Manuel?
I was lucky enough to be taken out by Allianz, went to a nice restaurant. We walked there rather than took a helicopter. Had a great time there, and then I think, as I said, in Biba Fever 1, ended up in the Radisson, didn't throw any stones, but did meet a lot of brokers. It's just a great community. I think the networking angle of Manchester, as Mike says, the fact the community stays together means you can go to one event and you can bounce to another one and you can meet all the people you want to meet and have some good chats.
And Mike, your Wednesday night?
We had a wonderful Chinese in Wings, a great restaurant, great time with some brokers there, and we planned for a small little drinks session following that, which seemed to get overtaken by quite a lot of people. I think we're up to about 250 at the last count from various places, various brokers, and a few of our competitors as well. So we had a really, really good evening.
Well, that's what Emmanuel and Mike did on Wednesday night. Let's return to the conference to find out what the delegates did on Wednesday night.
I had an excellent night last night, thank you. I was at the Cathedral in Manchester with RSA at their function, which was a great chance to catch up with RSA, but also it's always a great chance to catch up with the competition and actually some people we work with as well, some of our brokers, so great fun.
We had a great night. We were at Rosso's, which I think is Rio Ferdinand's place, so if you're a Man United supporter that's great, but I'm not, so but yeah, it was a good night. And there was a ventriloquist, which was quite good. So yeah, good night. And then people wandered off to all sorts of places. So
last night we went to the Midland Hotel, the French restaurant in the Midland Hotel, and then on to the Radisson, and then to the Bar. It was a very good evening. The food at the French restaurant was fantastic.
Well, if this has been filmed now, should I tell you what I was up to last night? No, nothing serious, just networking with colleagues.
Last night we went to the Comedy Store, so which is the first time out, even coming from Manchester, it's the first time I'd been there. It was fantastic. Yeah, we had a really good time, 4 good acts. Yeah, we really enjoyed it. It's great stuff.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be invited by Aegeus to their do. It was at the National Football Museum, and good dinner, which is always important. Good entertainment, excellent venue. So yeah, had a good time there. Enjoyed it.
Great evening. We went out with some brokers for dinner, just to really regroup and see what everyone had learned from the day. Just really to try and understand what Biba was doing for them. It was great for us, and so yeah, a pretty relaxed evening, but great fun.
In terms of the World Cup, I think England will do well to get out of the group. No European teams ever won in South America. I was talking to a Spanish waiter last night who was predicting Argentina. I'm English, I'd love to see England win, but probably if I had to bet, I'd go with Brazil.
well, I'm going to be different, and I'm saying they're going to get at least through the qualifying and get into the next round, and then they're going to get knocked out. And I think Holland are my tip for the top. So the Orange Men, I think, but there you go.
Well, as a non-football supporter, I would only hope that England win it. I prefer cricket myself, so I'm not really following it, to be honest.
I think England actually will perform better than most people say. I think we've got a good young squad, and how far they get, who knows, but at least we're positive about it. I think who will win, who knows, probably one of the South American teams.
I can't say I've got great confidence in England for the World Cup this year. Maybe for the Euros in 2 years' time with a younger squad. I think defensively we'll look a bit weak. So I think England might just get past the group stages. As for a winner, I'll go for an outsider. I'll go for Belgium. I think they've got some great young players coming through, and I think they'll probably be everybody's second choice.
Well, I think we know what England will do in the World Cup. They'll be a disappointment to us all again. So I'd expect them to get out of the group stages, but my expectations beyond that are zero. So I think they'll be home fairly quickly.
And who do you think will win the tournament?
I think a tournament in South America will always be won by a South American, and I'd probably say Brazil will win the World Cup this year. I won't be going myself because I broke a rib last week, and I've had to call Roy Hodgson and tell him that I can't make it, but I'm sure I'll have a standby ready for that. So yeah, but good day. This is fantastic as well. It's a great event, so we always enjoy this. But yeah, football venue last night, and now the World Cup to look forward to. So
Well, I think England are going to do really well. If you think back to '66, there were 3 West Ham players in our squad. This year there are 3 Southampton players. So I think England are going to win the World Cup this year.
Well, I think that explains why there were some jaded people on Thursday morning at Biba. So, gentlemen, returning back to the conference last week, obviously, as I was walking to the conference, perhaps on kind of a Thursday lunchtime, I saw a lot of people leaving with kind of, bags weighed down with stress balls, furry Ted Cuddly bears, gladiator outfits, top hats, pillows, etc., etc. To the untrained observer, perhaps the local Mancunians, they might actually get the impression that basically Biba is just an excuse to load up on freebies. Do you think, how business useful do you think the conference is, Emmanuel?
I think the conference is very business useful, as we've touched upon. It was very much a question of brokers looking to do deals and network, but in a very positive way. I understand what you're saying, Is Biba the sort of Butlins for brokers, or is it the supermarket sweep for brokers? Definitely, as you're leaving on the Thursday, you do see a lot of brokers walking around with a lot of bags. From my point of view, you can't have too many pens as a journalist, so I was picking up a lot of that. It seemed an inordinate amount of teddy bears this year. Don't know why that was, but sadly I failed to pick up a top hat.
Mike?
Well, I think from our perspective, both work really well together. And over the years, I've seen a change with brokers in terms of what they're looking for from Biba, and the access to key people, key partners for them seems to be more and more important. So there's a really strong business thread through it. From our perspective, that's really important. But the freebies, the gimmicks, they help as well. A lot of people say they will not survive Biba without the LV jelly beans, so they really help people go through. And from my perspective, if I turn up at home with nothing for my kids, then I'm in a lot of trouble. So some freebies at the end, really, really important.
Well, as Mike touched upon there, Biba is quite a good hunting ground for things for your children. And this was one of the reasons why last year we did give you Biba versus Kids, where we actually introduced some of the freebies of Biba to some of the inciting media staff children to see how they'd play and react to them, to find out what their favourite freebies were. And moving on from one step from this year we thought, well, what does Biba actually provide to people's pets? So on this note, we actually took some of the freebies home and saw what our pets did with them. Emmanuel, if I can turn to you, I understand that your dogs needed a bit of encouraging to actually play with some of the freebies.
Yeah, you've got Evie, who's a Labrador, and Mia, who's the Old English Sheepdog. So we lined up all the freebies, made them sit and wait and see which ones they'd run towards, and they did run, just unfortunately straight past all the freebies, completely ignoring them. So plan B, never work with animals unless you're going to absolutely cheat. We decided to hide some biscuits amongst the freebies. This led to them, well, basically eating the biscuits and again ignoring the freebies. But third time lucky, third time's a charm. We did get there in the end, as the clip will show.
Well, let's now watch the clip of Emmanuel's dogs, Evie and Mia, and also my cats, Max and Eli, and how they got on with the Biba freebies. Well, there's a lesson to all you conference exhibitors next year. More dog biscuits and cat treats, please. Obviously, one of the highlights of Biba Fever this year has been the challenges that we've had. And Mike, I think first of all, you were involved in the Cyclone Challenge with the team from LV and a team from Post. How did that go for you?
Well, it was an interesting challenge, and if I'm honest, we're not bitter losers, but the scores would seem to suggest that we lost. Although awkward to say, but I think Callum needs some investigation in terms of some of his tactics. Some might call it cheating, some would call it bending the rules, but definitely if we had a recount by the rules we'd set down, we might have had a different result. But we're not bitter.
Not bitter.
No.
So, talking of not being bitter, Fran, you were obviously involved in the scavenger hunt. Yourself, Katie, took on Catch in a mission to get, I think it was 10 selfies in a space of half an hour. Again, if you could wind back the clock, where do you think, Team Post went wrong here? Why didn't it come out victorious?
Well, I've obviously had quite a lot of time now to analyse the footage. And I think there's probably two key mistakes we made. I think the first one was that Catch seemed to spend a fair bit more thinking time, I think, planning her strategy at the beginning before she actually went to execute the different challenges. I think maybe we went off a bit haphazardly. Also think maybe our approach was too linear. I think maybe if we tried to combine a few, perhaps having the bearded lady juggling some branded balls while drinking a cocktail, then, we might have had a better outcome and hopefully some bonus points as well.
And Catch, obviously you still got the Biba Fever glow of victory there. Did you think Fran was right in her kind of dissection of where Team Age went right when perhaps Team Post kind of failed?
Well, Team Age is a smaller team, as you know. We're used to kind of thinking on our own, thinking on our feet and thinking outside the box. So a lot of thinking went into my approach and it obviously paid off. Yeah.
And it wasn't anything to do with the fact that Phil Bunker upset you on the Tuesday night and you felt that you had to make up.
I mean, the phrase bitter losers has been bandied around here before. I just think maybe if Post spent a little less time thinking up reasons they didn't win, they might actually win.
Okay. Well, hopefully next year we can throw down the gauntlet again and see who comes out victorious. So finally, we know that Biba 2015 is returning to Manchester. What improvements do you think could be made with the Biba Conference that could perhaps be introduced next year to make it a bigger and better event? Fran, if I come to you first.
I think one of the key improvements could have been a better stocking of the pick and mix stand. I hear that by the second day they were rationing the pick and mix, which is obviously not what you want. And I think the other thing would be some more key female businesswomen. I was disappointed that we didn't have Karen Brady there in the end. I think that maybe next year if she could plan her apprentice sort of schedule around Biba, it'd be good to have her there.
Catch?
Well, I think more advertisement around scavenger hunt, things like that would be good. It might be more helpful if you're participating. They don't just think you're a maniac running around drinking a cocktail, taking pictures of yourself. And yeah, I agree with Fran, more kind of female speakers. We were lucky that Janice Deacon stepped in to replace David Ross during the panel debate. But yeah, I think we were missing Karen Brady. There's plenty of other women they could have got there. It's just a bit underrepresented.
And finally, Mike.
I think it seems to be getting busier and busier every year, so some form of one-way system going around the exhibition hall, I think that would be really helpful, keep everyone in order. And also, it's amazing how many people I speak to who are working in our high-energy insurance industry seem to struggle to stand up all day long without complaining about aching backs. So maybe 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock we could all just have a lie down for half an hour, recharge, get our backs back in order, so we're ready to go for the rest of the day.
Well, there you go. I'm sure Steve will be listening to this and will take those all on board. So, for the final episode of Biba Fever, I'd like to thank the people in the studio, Fran, Catch, Mike, and before that, Manny. I'd also like to thank the cats and the dogs that helped with the Pets vs Biba challenge. All that's left for me to say is that this is a farewell from Biba Fever for 2014 and a farewell to the Biba Conference. But I'm sure we're all looking forward to next year when there'll be more Biba Fever.